Hey, it's Hunt. You found Hunt on Saints. We're talking black and gold football. Do us a favor. Hit the like button, share your comments below, and hit that subscription button so you can get all of our content. Enjoy.
I'm going to switch the conversation here to the New Orleans Saints momentarily. We will get you a brief thumbnail on something to expect from LSU baseball as they get set for Saturday in the SEC tournament. And then Ross Jackson will join us as well before we get out of here today. So, in looking at the New Orleans Saints, they're on the field for OTAs, just completed the first phase of that this week. And of the many storylines, whether it's the offensive line or whatnot, Klint Kubiak and his offensive system is squarely in the middle, right in the middle of all the talk. And whether it's install, how Derek Carr's going to adapt to it, how everyone's going to adapt to it, who might be featured most prominently in it, who fits in it, all the questions that you've all heard bandied about got me thinking. One guy that really could be maximized in Klint Kubiak's system. And that's Rashid Shaheed. It's that time of the offseason where publications all around are giving you their breakout player for each team. And when you look at that for the Saints, it is overwhelmingly listed as Rashid Shaheed. And that's ultimately what got me thinking, man, do the Saints have a hidden gem there? Do you remember Rashid Shaheed's debut? Like, do you remember how that happened? In his first year, he played 12 games, but he didn't see the field until October of 2022. The very first time he touched the football, it was on a handoff, and he went 44 yards for a touchdown. His first NFL touch ever. Then he didn't touch the ball the rest of the game. And then the very next week, the Saints are playing the Cardinals. They put him back out on the field, throwing him a deep ball, and in his second ever NFL game, on his second ever NFL touch, he scored a 53-yard receiving touchdown, and everybody's like, who the hell is 89? Oh, yeah, it's the undrafted receiver out of Weber State. Where's this guy been all year when the Saints offense has just been, trudging through mud and muck? And slowly but surely, they started to, incorporate him more. But right there in those first two plays in his NFL career, you saw the versatility. Last year, he looks like he could be your number 3 guy. What happens with Michael Thomas happens. He gets hurt. And Shaheed steps up and ultimately becomes your number 2. You look up at the end of the year, he's got 75 targets, 700 yards plus on just 46 receptions and 5 touchdowns. And he has well established himself as a deep threat in this league. When I said Rashid Shaheed, the first thing you probably thought of is, stretch the field. The guy's a hell of a deep threat. He's your weapon downfield. And that's 100% bears itself out in the numbers. You realize his 5 touchdowns on deep targets last year, so all 5 of them were 3rd in the NFL behind Tyreek Hill and Mike Evans. That's pretty good company. But what I really want to see, because we know he can do that, and you saw him really emerge in the post route last year for the New Orleans Saints. But what I really want to see is how Klint Kubiak can expand Rashid Shaheed's role in the Saints offense. Because before everyone was talking about offensive line and what a hole that was for the New Orleans Saints, and it is, and you should be talking about that. That should be at the top of the list. But before, everyone was looking at wide receiver because you had 3. You had 3 of them on the roster. That was it. And then they added some veterans, Cedric Wilson, Equanimeous St. Brown, guys like that. But that was what you were looking at. Who's stepping up behind Chris Olave? And the answer was always Rashid Shaheed. But for him to really become the number 2, the true number 2, you have to expand the role a little bit. Klint Kubiak could absolutely be the guy to do that. You want more creativity, and that's ultimately what you're looking for him to bring to this offense is more creativity. Not just, hey, Sheed, go run a post route. Go run past everybody. You can run 20 miles an hour. Go run past the safety and catch the ball, score touchdown. So what might an expanded role for Rashid Shaheed look like? Well, I'd go back to the examples we used right off the top when we talked about his debut. That's a guy that you just need to get the ball to in space. You can line him up in different spots on the field, obviously. But if you just can get the ball in his hands, whether that's in a screen pass, whether that's jet sweep, whether it's putting him in motion and matching him up, finding a favorable matchup with him in the defense. He's a guy that in his 2 years so far in the league has been obviously really difficult to deal with in man coverage, winning some 40% of the time in man coverage, but in zone, he's winning 58.5% of the time. He understands how to utilize space on the football field, get him the ball, and let him do that. Again, screens, jet sweeps, moving him around in motion, finding the best option against the zone, against a man-to-man matchup, however you can, using him more over the middle of the field. The hands for Rashid Shaheed are very good too. He's caught 68% of his targets over 2 years to date. You do that, you have yourself a bona fide number 2 behind Chris Olave. Can the role be similar to how the 49ers used Deebo Samuel? Maybe the touches there aren't as frequent because when you look at them, size comparison wise, Shaheed and Samuel, they're both 6 feet tall, but Samuel's 215 pounds. Shaheed's at 180. So maybe you do worry about durability if you go, full on Deebo Samuel role there for him. But a guy with as much versatility as he has, and to be such a prime candidate to be your number 2, you can't just leave him, okay, go run down the field and catch the ball. He can't just be your deep threat. You have to maximize his ability because he's also a great return guy. He was first-team All-Pro returner in 2023. The return touchdown he had against the Packers was huge in that game until the Saints blew a 17-point lead in the fourth quarter. Versatility, I want to see it maximized. I think Klint Kubiak is 100% a guy who could do that. So, yeah, when everyone's listing Rashid Shaheed as the breakout, makes a lot of sense. But I have a problem with the term breakout because I look at last year with him and breakout kind of already happened. It was forced to because of the injury to Michael Thomas. Again, he came in as your number 3. He was forced into that role, and he ended up with 700 yards, 5 touchdowns, being mentioned in the same breath as Tyreek Hill and Mike Evans in certain categories. That's breakout. So now how can you maximize that breakout? That's what I'm looking for. And the one area, I've talked about getting them the ball in space, the one area I really want to see more from him in is running the football. The Saints struggled running the football last year, whether it was Alvin Kamara, whether it was Josh Williams, and then, of course, Jamal Williams. And then, of course, you had the injury to Kendre Miller. The Saints were like 23rd or 24th in the NFL in rush offense. It's a small sample size, but I look at Rashid Shaheed, and I see in 2 years, 11 attempts for 94 yards and a touchdown, an average of 8.5 yards per carry. That 44-yarders factored into that. 100% understand. That's what I said. It's a small sample, but I'm still looking at a guy averaging 8.5 yards a carry. Give him a few more. See if there's actually not something to build off of there in the run game with him, especially when you have 2 running backs in Williams and Kamara pushing 30 years old, and the one behind them is Kendre Miller, who you rarely saw on the field as a rookie because he was hurt. Any way you can get the ball to Rashid Shaheed more, I'm for. And I'm fired up, actually, to see how he fits into Klint Kubiak's offense and how creative they can get with him, because he might just be a secret hidden gem for the New Orleans Saints that's only slightly been uncovered. You're like at the tip of the iceberg, potentially, with Rashid Shaheed. It'll be interesting to see, and I'm fired up to watch it.
Hey, it's on. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button So you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.